Welcome everyone to my third Lunch and Learn with Luke session. Today we're going to be talking about creating a brand register for marks and domains. If you have any questions at any time, please feel free to either put them in the chat or just interject at any time. I want this to be as discussive as we can. So yeah, let's get going. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is why you create a brand registry for your business, how and where to set the registry up, what the structure of it will be, how you get asset alignment between your trademarks and your domain names, and then how you would sort of maintain it moving forward. Okay, so why do I generally recommend that you create a brand registry for your business if you don't have it? Well, the first one is to reduce the risk of brand-related fraud and misrepresentation, to facilitate a cohesive brand strategy. Quite often you'll see that customers will have trademarks but not their domain names, and then they're already taken, and customers can get easily confused. To ensure that you know what all your critical marks are, and domains as well, and that you know that they are renewed, and to prune or trim the registry of retired or obsolete assets. What I see quite often, particularly in domain names, is what I would call portfolio bloat, and that's when marketing have registered domain names and for a marketing campaign, and now they don't need them anymore, and no one deletes them. So the same thing can happen with trademarks as well. So generally, the one thing is that the registry needs to be centrally accessible to the stakeholders. And the stakeholders in this particular instance, or the way we always look at it, is that you should have someone from legal, you should have someone from brand and or marketing, or if they're one and the same, and also you should have someone from technical, so that they can understand and let or interface with the registrar, the people who generally have the majority of the domain name records. So whatever your the suggestion generally is whatever your whatever platform your company uses. So if you use Google Docs, then that's cool. If you use Office 365, good. If you use something like Monday.com, then that would work perfectly as well. Or if you have a supplier that allows you to, you could use a supplier's platform. For instance, in this little image that we see down here is from the Mark Monitor platform, where we can insert user-defined fields to allow you to attach trademark data against any and all domain names, give them specify what type of domain name they are, or how they relate to the business, what the business unit is, and all that sort of stuff. So the first thing you need to do when setting up a registry is really understand, how you're going to structure it and how that makes sense for your business. So you need to decide on a taxonomy for the brands, and what we mean here is, how are you going to classify your brands? With many domains and customers that I work with, we call the core brand, so the primary brand, as we call it, core, branded, and tactical. And you might have 3 or 4 different classifications. If you're someone like an FMCG, you might have lots. But the core is definitely the one that the customer would most directly identify with. And in this case, I've just pulled out Coke, and Sprite and Fanta. The branded type is somewhere where the core domain is included in it. Like Coke is it. And in theory, like the summer of Coke, but it might just be a tagline, And in fact, it could also be, if you've got someone like Nike, Just Do It, well, that might actually end up being a core mark, or they might decide that that's a branded mark. But what's important is the third category, which is tactical. And that is something that is only going to be used for a short period of time. So, the Summer of Coke was a campaign I remembered a while ago. That's something that they're not necessarily going to want to hang on to for a long period of time. You need to align business units to each brand if that applies to you. In some instances, what customers do, if they're more corporate based, they might have the corporate brand listed against, say the legal business unit, so that the key brand is managed by those guys, and then other domains and marks or domains might be segmented across the technical team because they're used to back end development. And then the third thing really is have all the countries that you would and do business in, and I think it's not a bad idea as well to have the brands, countries that you would potentially like to get into. And the reason for that is, somewhere like China, it's easier to register the domain name today than it is to go back and try and get it later on. So the next piece of the puzzle, which is probably the hardest piece, is actually aligning all of the assets. And as you can see here in this example, I've started to build this out, and I've just used the spreadsheet. And color coding, I quite like to color code things because it's very easy for people to understand and look at where there are problems. But the first thing is, and this is why you need to have someone from multiple stakeholders involved, is decide where you need asset alignment. And by that I mean where you will need a trademark and a domain name, or just a domain name and no trademark. So, for example, Summer of Coke, as I use it again, it's a tactical campaign. They might not need a trademark, but they only need a domain name. And in this case, everything black has been marked as a short-term use. And the reason why, again, that's important is because as you go through the process of sort of completing this list, you'll have detail that lets okay, someone might come to you and go, oh, hey, do I need to renew the Fanta domain name? And you'll go, yes, actually, we need to do that. And vice versa. They might go, do we need the Summer of Coke? No, we don't. But to get to this picture, you need to get a list of domains, and you need to get a list of marks, and you do need some capability to compare the two. I use things like VLOOKUP. You within your organization may have 100 different tools at your disposal, to help you do that. Once you do that as well, then you sort of assign your categories. Here I've got fully protected, partially protected, at risk, and short-term use is my sort of traffic light system. You might add multiple, but I think sort of more than 4 would be too much, because then it just gets too confusing. And what you'd want to see, in theory, is where it makes sense, to have sort of green lights all the way across. And this also allows you to then work out how and where you're going to reacquire brands, or what you're going to do to help defend yourself. The next bit is probably really the easiest, and that's just keeping it up to date. And the way we sort of use this, and we work with our clients to do that, is we use this. We use and reassess this, I should say, during the budgeting cycle, so that you can work out, what you need to retire, You can go to your domain name registrar and instruct them not to renew the Summer of Coke. You can go to whatever trademark registries you need to ensure that those trademarks don't get renewed. What is really important, though, is when you set up a new brand within your system, you make sure that you capture all of the data required um, to populate this list, so that you always have the same view and the same picture, and you've got quality in your registry, rather than sort of probably what you have now, which is I don't know where anything is at, and then you have to go back and sort of repeat this exercise again. There's probably, depending on the size of your brand portfolio, there's probably a little bit of pain up front. However, once you've got this nailed, it's very, very easy. I had one client who was in the FMCG space. It took us 2.5 months to get to the position of something like this, and it was a huge list. But what we were able to do is help that client work out how to retire a whole heap of stuff that they just didn't need anymore. I might just give you a few minutes for questions or to see if there is. We generally don't have too many. No, I haven't got any through chat, and no one else is popping in. So what I'm going to do is finish up there. Thank you again for your time today, and for everyone who's attending. If you would like to reach out to me, you can click on contact me via LinkedIn. You can email me at luke.richards@clarivate.com, or just check my LinkedIn profile. All my contact details are there. Thank you very much, and have a great afternoon.